It is just after 4. And from where I'm sitting, I do not see any board member here. Agreed? Yes. No board member here. Honourable Member, so that we put it on record. Yesterday, the SABC board, of their own volition, decided to walk out of this inquiry, mainly due to the concern that they raised that documents that we were using yesterday were not provided to them in Braille, amongst others, but that was the main reason. Let me reiterate for the record that a notice of inquiry was sent out to the SABC board dated the 17th of November 2016, in which it was clearly stated that if translation was required, this must be confirmed with the committee 5 days prior to appearance, in the letter dated the 17th. On the 18th of November 2016, Ms. Teresa Geldenhuys emailed this committee requesting that all correspondence for the attention of Professor Maguve must be forwarded to them in Word format so that they would convert into Braille. And we read the email to you yesterday. Fast forward to where we are today. Honourable members, we now know that when we put it to the AG yesterday, whether this requirement for documentation to be put into Braille was ever raised with him when he presented when the AG presented their final report, the answer was no. That request was never put to the Auditor General. We repeated that question to the Public Protector as to whether there was a requirement or a request for her report when she presented it to be converted into Braille. She also said no. And similarly, we put it to ICASA. They too said no. Through our interactions today, we've been informed that in fact the SABC has got the machines to convert into Braille. We've also been informed that in the normal course of their business, this facility was indeed used to assist the professor in board meetings. That we know from input given to us today. And therefore, if the SABC board was here today, it would have been useful if they would have been able to respond to why is it that if these facilities are there and were purchased specifically for the purposes of assisting the professor, and after they had requested that we send documents in Word format, that they were unable to do so yesterday, and use that as one of the reasons for not deeming the proceedings to have any potential of being free and fair on the basis that the professor would not have had documents. So that we want to put on record, honourable members. And we can only speculate that because of that reason, or mainly because of that reason, the SABC board and Professor Maguve in particular did not present themselves to this committee today at 4 o'clock as agreed to. Now, honourable members, we have two options in light of where we are now. The first option available to the committee is to proceed in his absence. As stated in the notice of inquiry dated the 17th of November 2016, which contains the following words, and I quote, and this was sent to all potential witnesses. Should you fail to attend the hearing, the committee will proceed with hearings in your absence. That is option one. The second option available to the committee is to issue a summons in terms of Section 55A of the Constitution, read with Section 14(2)A of the Powers and Privileges and Immunities of Parliament Act 2014, for Professor Maguve, in his capacity as the chairperson of the SABC board, to appear before this committee as a witness and to deliver the documents which are still outstanding from our summons of the 24th of November 2016. Those are the two options that we are faced with now, honourable members. And mine is then to request for you to indicate which of these two options we exercise so that we're able to proceed with these hearings one way or the other. Having done that, I would want to address the issue of documents, but let us deal with this one first, and then we'll deal with the issue of documents. Option one, we proceed, as we had highlighted in our letter dated the 17th. Option two, exercise our rights per the Constitution and summons the professor to appear before this committee as a witness. I seek your guidance. Could I start with Honourable Mokoena, followed by Jabu Matlangu, Honourable, followed by Swartz, Honourable, followed by... Does everybody want to speak on this matter? All right, if everybody wants to speak on this matter, can we then also agree, honourable members, that it can't be more than 2 minutes, your input? We'll summarize that and take a decision forward. We'll start with you and go in the same fashion that we've been working earlier on. Honourable Mokoena.
No, Chair, I wanted to say that also it must be on the record that in the meeting yesterday when they walked out, that some concessions had been made by the Chair himself that we would make an effort to convert the documentation in this inquiry into Braille. That is one. Two, that the chairperson of the SABC has been to the Portfolio Committee of Communications, and there was no demand for Braille documentation when he came before the public hearing. That's another one. Now, on the issue of what's the way forward, I think we must exhaust all options that we have, and I think we must send summons to him as per our rights, because I think it's important for us to hear what he has to say. But I'm also of the opinion that because this is an act of defiance to both himself as a normal citizen of this country, but two, as a chairperson of the board, which is a parastatal. And I know I stand alone on this one, but I want to reiterate the point that it is time that we ask Mr. Maguve to give us reasons why he should not be dismissed. For many reasons, including trying to sabotage these processes, which are in his favor, and which are in the documentation that run the institution that he's a custodian of. Thanks, Chair.
Chair, Mr. Maguve, Professor Maguve had, we actually had scheduled him for a later date. He specifically requested that he appears today. We granted him the opportunity. Now, indeed, he's decided not to honor the appearance. My view is that he's accountable, together with his contingent, to Parliament South Africa, to the peoples of this country, through the body of the elected persons, in this case, the National Assembly. There is no way we will allow anybody to defy Parliament. I think we must make an example. And my recommendation is that summons be issued. We can be flexible about when we allow him to come, either the original date we had set, or allow him, if we issue the summons today, and we are able to reach him overnight. If he's still in Cape Town, it will be near, but I mean, we have mechanisms if he's in Pretoria or elsewhere in the furthest part of the country, that he be located and he be served with summons, and that he appears as the last presenter on Monday. I'm saying the last, so that we allow him sufficient time, because I would have preferred that, because he's at the center of the matters, that he gets more time than the rest of ourselves that we've had. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I believe Professor Maguve can provide a lot of clarity to a lot of evidence and a lot of issues that have been raised today. And so I look forward to hearing his evidence. It seems when he was appointed to the board, there was a lot of improvements, but we now see a lot of issues that have arisen, where allegations have been arisen that it's almost a dysfunctional board, and we'd like clarity from that. And also, obviously, he will be able to be assisted by legal advisors should he require that at a time he's assisted, he can be assisted by them. So I would support the issuing of a summons. I believe that it would assist this committee in reaching a finality and reaching a conclusion once we can engage with him on a number of the issues which he has, which have been raised, a number of concerns. As far as the documentation is concerned, there's nothing to prevent us as well, should there be a request about commercially sensitive information. We could consider a request in those lines, but as I understand, no such request has been received as yet, so I would support you as well that the summons also relates to documentation that is outstanding. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair, I want to align myself with the first three speakers and support option 2. Chairperson, I don't think that we can allow a situation where we allow this state of paralysis, where the authority of Parliament is being subverted. And in this case, Chairperson, I honestly think that we should use the summons and whatever other legal means possible to get him before this committee, so that we can get clarity on these issues. We need to restore the integrity of Parliament. we also need to ensure that the state parastatals are doing the work that they are supposed to be doing. And that would be my submission, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I support the previous speakers. It is disappointing that somebody who says is still a chairperson of the board decides not to come to Parliament because we have an oversight responsibility over these entities. So it's good that summons are going to be issued to him because we want to hear what he's gonna say about the state of the institution he is in. But I want to appeal to Honorable Mahlangu that let's rather use Tuesday because according to our draft program, on Tuesday, the last group we are calling is at 2 to 4. So we put him in the 4 to 6 slot on Tuesday. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. I don't think we can proceed because this is supposed to be an inquisitorial process. We're supposed to gather information. So if the person who is purportedly chairing the board cannot be here to give us that information, I don't see how we can proceed. The second point is that Prof. Maguve went to court alleging that some members of this committee had preconceived notions about what the outcome of this process. We said we're coming here with an open mind. Come and tell us, give us different information. He's been given the opportunity to come clear his name. He has not taken that opportunity. He's disrespected that committee. So summons.
Chairperson, I agree with the members that are agreeing with you that we need to proceed and issue summons. And I think we have put it quite very clear that all arrangements, all efforts were made to accommodate Professor Maguve. You can see the seat there, it's arranged, it's empty, the prof is not there. So my take, Chair, is that this summons must be issued, invite the prof to appear via summons on Tuesday, as members have just put it. Then we'll take it up from there. But if the prof fails to appear again, Chair, and that's why yesterday when we were speaking, we then said the legal team should advise as quickly as possible. The sheriff or the police have to be ignited, or either we have to go to court. That process needs to be clarified because this is a very serious issue, Chair. There is no way that an individual or a chairperson of a board elected by Parliament can defy Parliament. South Africans want to hear what are the issues around SABC. Our position, I think, is very clear, Chair. Let Prof come, appear, we'll arrange everything for him. All the systems are in place. So let's engage with Prof. That's the appeal I'm making again, Chair, that for the sake of progress, for us to correct what is happening at SABC, we need his cooperation. And it's now getting to a point now we are issuing someone, which is not correct, but it had to happen now. So that's a position I'll agree with colleagues that we don't have any other option now. And I will take it that wherever Prof is, he can hear us when we speak because he listens to TV, he listens to radio, he can hear that we are now at the point that we are now having to issue summons and there's no other choice.
Thank you, Chairperson. It is regrettable that we have to do this, but I align myself with my colleagues. The SABC, as a state-owned company, is a creature of law. All of us have to perform our functions and responsibilities in terms of the statutes and the Constitution, and that makes no exception for anybody who serves in any board. So therefore, I would align myself with this request. Chair, just lastly, I think it is just important for the record. You have indicated that we believe that that is the reason that they left. As far as we are concerned, that's the only reason was the matter of the Braille, because it was upon that point that they left this meeting, and therefore it must be clear that it was the issue of the Braille that prompted them to leave this meeting yesterday and walk away. We believe we want to invite them back, and if this is the mechanism to get them back here to answer on further probing questions, that would assist the committee to complete its work. Thank you, Chairperson.
By direction of the ad hoc committee, could we ask the legal team to put into motion that is necessary so that the professor appears before this committee on Tuesday? So that deals with the first part of it. Thank you very much, honourable members. I just want to very briefly deal with the second part of it, which was also central to our business. Honourable members, we would have, as South Africans, all benefited if, in fact, the SABC board was present here today, because we, contrary to their letter indicating these matters were either not available, or documents were either not available, or were of such a nature that it would have compromised the commercial interests of the SABC, we had different views. We can't take those views as gospel. It would have been so useful if they were here, because they would have countered those views. It's important that they should have countered those views, honourable members, because the legal representative of the SABC board, or the legal representative of Professor Maguve, in writing sent communication to this committee stating the reasons why they would not want to provide those documents. And we insisting that those documents should come. So it would have been useful for us to have that discussion with them today. But a very worrying factor, honourable members, is that one of those documents that we requested was the SABC skills audit that was done by Pricewaterhouse. And the letter from the legal team dated the 6th of December indicated on page 2.2.4, the following documents will not be provided on the basis of privilege, and its disclosure may negatively impact on the commercial interests of the SABC. And they listed 5 or 6 documents. One of those documents is the skills audit done by Pricewaterhouse. Honourable members, on the 30th of December 2014, of January, I beg your pardon, on the 30th of January 2014, Ms. Teresa Geldenhuys communicated with the Portfolio Committee of Communications, presented them with that very document we're talking about, in preparation for a Portfolio Committee meeting on the 4th of February. Let me repeat. On the 30th of January 2014, Ms. Teresa Geldenhuys communicated with the Portfolio Committee on Communications and sent them that document in preparation for a Portfolio Committee meeting on the 4th of February 2014. 2 years later, they say to us that that document is of a sensitive nature, and we as well are an equal Portfolio Committee of Parliament. Now I'm looking at the legal team, and I'm requesting the legal team to go and do an investigation and report back to us by the end of the day tomorrow. In light of the fact that we've received this letter from the lawyer on the 6th, and the fact that this very document was presented to this Parliament on the 30th of January, is this action of yesterday, does it not border on contempt of Parliament? So that when we get that opinion from you, we are able to take even this matter forward. I thought it was important to raise that point, honourable members. That then concludes this part of it. In terms of our proceedings for tomorrow and beyond, let's start with tomorrow. At 9:30, tomorrow, Friday, the 9th of December, 9:30, we are scheduled to meet ex-board member Chris Naidu, or resigned board member. I don't know if it's ex or resigned. I'm not sure what the term is. Ex-board member at 9:30. At 11:30, we are scheduled to meet Mr. Phil Molife, who is a former acting GCEO. And at 2 o'clock, we are scheduled to meet Mr. Tsietsi, who's a former group executive risk and governance. That's in terms of the program tomorrow. Honorable members, on the 12th, Monday the 12th, we had scheduled a Mr. Jabulani Mabaso, who is a former group executive human resources. And we came and reported back to you that this witness requested a hearing in camera. And you indicated to us that we should go back and go and renegotiate. We are now at a point where we're 3 days away from his hearing, and the situation hasn't changed. We need your direction. Secondly, on Tuesday, the 13th of December, at 11 o'clock, we have scheduled a Mr. Shushu, who is the former head of procurement. You'll recall the last time that we gave you an update, we indicated that this witness felt strongly that his hearing should also be in camera because he's on the job market, and it would... Oh, I beg your pardon. Mr. Mabaso is the job market. I beg your pardon. Mr. Mabaso is the job market. That was the rationale. Mr. Shushu... Mr. Shushu does not want to be televised, and therefore, by extension, I would read it to mean that he also wouldn't want the print media here. So those are two matters, honourable members, that you asked us to go back and work on. And we are giving you an update on those two. And you need to, either today, or we can even do it tomorrow. If you go and apply your minds overnight, we can decide tomorrow how do we proceed with these two so that Cindy and her team are able to put the wheels in motion. I know I'm ambushing you on those two, but I don't think it will be a train smash if we applied our minds overnight and discuss the way forward on those two particular ones tomorrow. But then again, I defer to your wisdom on those two particular matters. Honourable Chauke, Honourable Swartz, Honourable, everyone wants to speak. I like it when everybody speaks. Yeah, let's start in the middle. All right, we'll start in the middle. We'll start with... No, you said we must start in the middle. We'll start with Loliwe, move to Khoza, come to Honourable Van Dam. We'll then go to Chauke. We'll then move to Honourable Killian. If you don't want to speak, you'll just pass over. We'll then move to Honourable Swartz. We'll then move to Honourable Matlangu, and we'll give the honor of closing to the Right Honorable Mokoena.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, our intention as this committee is to get as much information as we can access. I think the two witnesses have tried to move the first step. Not that we are saying they are supposed to hold us at ransom when we want information from them. But where I'm seated, I'm of the view that let us grant this to their wish, the one who does not want to be on camera, and the one also. In fact, both are saying the same thing, but in different languages. But ultimately, it's the same thing. That's where I'm seated, Chair, unless you want us to reflect on your proposal of slipping over this.
I thought you were going to talk on the proposal. I don't know
Oh.
if you get into the debate because I've ambushed you.
Okay.
It's not a light matter, honorable members, because it sets all sorts of precedents. Okay. If you want to finalize it today, your servant, I will allow you to do it. I just thought that maybe we want to go and think about it and do it tomorrow, but I'm at your mercy. The second person was honorable.
Fine, let me finish, Chair. Then, in light of that, Chair, allow us to seek mandate on the matter and come. Allow us to go and seek mandate and come back on this issue.
Chair, the most important thing about this ad hoc committee is that it is so united. And I think it's important that you give us an opportunity to think over this matter, so that when we come back tomorrow, we would have applied our minds and we would have found each other if needs be. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Chair. I've expressed myself on this before. I said earlier that if it's someone who isn't no longer in the employ of the SABC, if they feel under threat or they feel that their lives are under danger, then we should do it on camera. But if it's someone who is an employee of a state institution, they absolutely are under obligation to do it in public. I mean, we're dealing with people here that have mafia tendencies. You'll remember there was the death threats. We saw Mrs. Mohobo, she looked visibly traumatized. So I wouldn't want to put undue pressure on people who are no longer in the employ of the SABC. So my suggestion is let's grant them if they're not employed by the SABC any longer.
We're going to slip over it, Chair, because it's not only the question of granting. We need to, again, understand the kind of a witness, what is it that we're going to expect. So that is quite a detailed thing. So my proposal, I want to agree with colleagues that says, let's slip over it. Tomorrow is less 24 hours to go. Tomorrow morning we can then have a position. Because even the issue of the camera, vis-a-vis media is somehow in different phases. You may have a camera, you may have a print media and all of that. So we need to check those things that we are sure. We cannot make a conclusion and say this person in fact does not want anything. For us to go in committee, you must know that it's sort of, we have been very public throughout, and the public interest comes into in the process. So that's why I'm saying that let's sleep over it, let's come back. We have created an expectation outside there, not because I want to force people to speak public, but to be able to balance that particular what you call. So that does not create something that people come tomorrow and then say that in that closed meeting, something will have happened. You know, we must be able again to say, how do we communicate what has been said in closed camera properly, so that members of the public are informed accordingly of that in-camera meeting. So I think let's sleep over it. We'll come back. We have to apply our mind and clear politics that we must come out of which means that the way forward of it must be very clear to everybody.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will await that we discuss it tomorrow after we've slept over it. But secondly, just clarity, is our program therefore with the representatives of the SABC 8 that was scheduled for Monday, is it no longer the same? or are they still coming on Monday afternoon? Also, we had on the list on Monday.
Honourable Killian, let's deal with this one first, and then we can deal with the rest of the program. Just on this one, otherwise we'll cloud all sorts of things. Just on how we proceed with these two names. If that's it, then we'll certainly come to your point immediately hereafter. Honourable Swartz.
I think, Chair, there are various factors that one needs to take into consideration: the interests of the person wishing to give evidence, the public interest. It's almost similar to a court application for access to media when a court is having hearings. So I think it is wise for us to consider these issues. They're far-reaching, what the precedent that we will be creating. And so I support the suggestion that we consider these issues and come back tomorrow and finalize this issue. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair, thank you. I'll share the view of the colleagues that are saying let's sleep over it, because indeed, from what Madame Van Damme was saying, it is clear that both the individuals are not employed in the SABC, but also you have a public interest, you have a personal issues, you've got public interest. My view will be that perhaps once we sleep over the matter, because I think we've built a relationship with media, just touch base with them as chair and hear them out, try and coerce them if we will eventually accede to their demand, so that at least we build that cohesion as to how then are we going to give the feedback. I think those things are crucial for me.
No, Chair, the Bill of Rights gives people the rights to privacy, and I think we must grant them, but I would concur that maybe we should go think over it and discuss it tomorrow. Thanks.
It's either we're close to Christmas or there's a miracle happening here in Parliament. Never seen such unitedness from political parties before, but yes, once again, unanimously, please go and think about it and the potential precedent-setting and or domino effects that it will have, and we will try and find some time tomorrow to finalize it so that Cindy and her team then do what needs to be done.
That maybe you should again ask the legal team, because a closed meeting, you apply for it. Maybe they'll have to look at that whole process of applying, because we operate like any other committee, obviously, with a special, interest. But we have to look at, because normally you apply to the speaker for a closed meeting. So I think we'll have to look at those issues.
Because they're part of our support staff, I think they've heard you. If you guys can also advise us on the option, if we eventually decide to go close, what are the practical things that we would have to do? If it's not practical, then that's another decision, because we really want to be practical. We want to be sensitive to concerns raised by potential witnesses, but at the same time, we also want to be able to say to South Africans that we have got nothing to hide. So it's that balancing act that we need to carry out. Honourable members, once again, thank you very much for, before we do that,
Thank you, Chair. I would like to just make one request for the committee to consider. It might not be today, it will be tomorrow. In the interest of fairness, and you would have picked up in today's proceedings that the witnesses, to a large extent, made reference to Dr. Ngubane and Ms. Chabalala were the former chairpersons of the SABC board. And I would love to suggest that the committee considers the two being added to the list of witnesses. Thank you, Chair.
Agreed? Nipuzani, no? All right. Cindy and her team, I feel sorry for this team. Please, can you do the necessary to offer invitation to former chairperson of the SABC board, Ellen Chabalala, and the former chairperson of the SABC board, Dr. Ben Gubane. No, but Baba, we're not going to finish. We do it that way. Okay. Yes.
No, Chair. Bear with me, Chair. There's a point that I raised the other day when we were dealing with the issue of archives. And the point was that because the end user currently of the archive is multi-choice, I then made a proposal that maybe let us consider inviting multi-choice to explain, because no one is explaining to us the status of the archiving. I then thought that that point was noted and maybe you should express yourself on it so that either we take a decision that we don't have to call them, but I thought it was a very important point that I made last time.
All right, I will sleep on it. Can I come back with that tomorrow? I'll go to the legal team. I'm sure there's many ways of doing this, as you say. There's not only one player in this transaction. And somebody spoke about the competitions board yesterday, and all those competitions commission yesterday. So I'll sleep on it, and then I'll come back and I'll put onto the table a proposal as to how we deal with it. Also bearing in mind it's one of the documents that we also have on our list of summons. So we look at all those things and come up with a proposal. But we don't want to overload our program. Our time is the 28th of February, honorable members, and let's be practical that we can't have endless witnesses. But these three, we certainly will come back with some sort of an answer tomorrow. To everybody that has been here with us throughout the day, thank you very much. We meet in this venue at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
These are live visuals from the parliamentary inquiry into the SABC board's fitness to hold office. Proceedings you've just heard have concluded for the day. They will resume at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, chairperson of the ad hoc committee, Mr. Vincent Smith, after putting it to committee members, has decided to summons SABC board chairperson Professor Mbulaheni Magove to this inquiry. He was scheduled to be questioned at 4 p.m. while the Prof and the SABC delegation walked out of this inquiry yesterday already, saying his constitutional rights were being undermined as the Prof does not have reports and the witness statements he needs in Braille. Smith saying that the SABC has machines to convert reports to Braille for the professor who is visually impaired. Smith is questioning why this technology is not being used to assist the professor. The SABC delegation has not yet come back to the inquiry this afternoon. Smith said the committee has two options: to continue proceedings without the professor or summons him to the inquiry, as well as for the outstanding documents the SABC still needs to provide the committee. Most of the MPs are in agreement that a summons be served on the professor to appear before the inquiry. MPs are still deliberating, though, on whether certain witnesses will be allowed to testify in public or not. Tomorrow, the inquiry will hear from former board member Krish Naidu and former executive Phil Molefe. On that note, let's move on to some other news. Former SABC Group CEO Lulama Mokhobo says she feels she was undermined during her tenure at the public broadcaster. She's appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into the SABC. She's the second witness to take the stand today. The first witness, former SABC board member Ronnie Lubisi, said he voted against the appointment of Hlaudi Motsoeneng as chief operating officer at a meeting that was convened by former board chairperson Ellen Chabalala. Well, the former CEO said Motsoeneng was the